what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Utah Johnny Lang. Thanks for coming back. So today we're going to talk about my 2018 Lexus LC500. So I have had this car for 2 years now, and generally speaking, the 2-year mark is when I start to get the itch for something else. I still am enamored with this car, and I love it for a variety of reasons. It just checks a lot of boxes for me, and I'm going to go into some detail as to why I think this is one of the most underrated and wonderful cars out there. To geek out on you a little bit, let me tell you a little bit about this car. The LC500s came to America in 2018. I think it was 2017 that I went to the Utah Auto Expo and I saw my first LC500 there on display, and boy, I fell in love with it right from the beginning. So as you guys know, the fantastic Lexus LFA, only 500 were made between 2010 and 2012. And those were all done in a very special Lexus plant in Motomachi, Japan. Around 2012, the engineers at Lexus started to create the plans for the LC500. Now, there's been a little inside running joke that I've had since I've owned this car, but in the 2 years that I've had it, I've actually had 46 people ask me if this is an LFA, which is quite the compliment. As you guys know, those cars are $1 million now, but I get it. There are a lot of styling cues from the LFA that are in this car. So they made two versions of this car, the regular V8, which is this car, which is a 471 horsepower, naturally aspirated V8. And then there's also the 6-cylinder, which is the hybrid. The search was on, and I originally wanted a black one. I found one out of state and started to talk to the dealership, and I realized, you know what? I hadn't even driven one of these yet. So it just so happens that Ferrari of Salt Lake had one of these, and it was traded in on a Ferrari. It was the only LC500 for sale in the state of Utah. I test drove it, immediately fell in love. And you know, even though I didn't want white, because I was there, I could touch it, I could feel it, I could smell it, and I made an offer, which they accepted, and a few hours later, I was driving this bad boy home. And I tell you, ever since I've had this now for the last couple of years, this white paint, I absolutely love it. I know it's a little bright today, but you can see it's a tri-coat pearl. So what have I done to the car? Well, first things first, I put a set of RSR springs. That lowered the car just a little bit. It took away some of the wheel gap there. I think it brought it down about an inch and a quarter, and firmed up the ride a little bit. Now, when I say that, it's not a rough ride at all. I mean, I'm an older guy, and I love my comfort, and this car is super comfortable. And you know, with most any car, when you outfit them with a decent set of wheels, it really just makes the car pop. I got these Vossen 21s from Renew in St. George, my buddy Grant. I have the Michelin Pilot Sports on there and a 295/35/21 on the rear. And then up front, I'm sporting the 255/40/21s. I added that small little lip you see in the front, some carbon fiber. It's actually a wrap, and that front lower lip down at the grill. It had some clear bra or some paint protection film on it already. Tinted the windows, and then these chrome strips are generally chrome, and I put some vinyl wrap on those. Last year, I drove 2,700 miles through California, up the coast, into Monterey for Car Week, and then back through Nevada. And there were times that I was getting over 30 miles per gallon out of a 471 horsepower V8. That's crazy to me. I think a lot of that has to do with the 10-speed transmission. It's kind of mind-blowing. So I know that when most people think of Lexus, you generally don't think like sporty, you know, performance car, with the exception of the LFA. Well, I'm here to tell you that this car is the exception. I have been on some rallies, I have been on some spirited drives with some Italian exotics and some other German cars. This car hangs with them. You know, yeah, it's a little heavy, but it doesn't feel heavy. It's actually a really good performing car. And the other thing that's really kind of unique is that, generally speaking, when I go to a car event, be it a Cars and Coffee or, you know, rally or anything like that, I am the only one with an LC500. Okay, so with all the wonderful things that I've talked about this car, I'm going to point out some of the things that have bothered me over the last 2 years. And I think Lexus has just probably overcomplicated a few things. There's a lot of two-step processes to, you know, do some very basic stuff. The first thing, the door handle. Instead of just being able to grab it and open the door, you have to push that side in first, and then the handle comes out. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. And if I have my remote, I can actually, you know, unlock it and it kicks it out. Not a problem. The other thing is this center console. In order for me to open it, I have to slide this back first, and then I got to reach underneath and open there. It's not like I can just open, you know, the hatch from this side. It's a very small thing, I know. And then the other thing that has been just a little something overcomplicated. In order to turn on the heated or cooled seats or steering wheel, you have to go into your pad menu here and find it on the screen and click it and go up. And I just feel it's a little cumbersome. It would be nice if maybe there was just a button for that. And those are really like the only things that have bothered me with this car, which is very small and very minor. Now, I'm 6'5" and I'm a big guy, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the most comfortable cars that I've owned. I had a BMW 6 Series at one time that was also, you know, it's kind of a GT car as well, but my leg room is wonderful here. The seats are comfortable. You know, there's good support, good bolsters. And that's, again, me saying this after 2 years of owning this car. This isn't just, you know, having the car for a couple days. I mean, this is an honest opinion after 2 years, which is pretty crazy. The level of detail, I think, is wonderful. You have a lot of leather. There's some Alcantara that's in there, which, by the way, is backlit at night up and through here. And then, like, the carbon fiber. You can't really see that, but there's a lot of carbon fiber on this, and look at those little Lexus stainless screws. So the build quality is wonderful. No issues there whatsoever. I mean, this car is almost 5 years old, and yes, I keep my cars very clean. You know, it's wearing very good. Now, this is a one-piece glass sunroof, or moonroof, I guess, if you will. It does not open. It's just one big piece, and there is a sunscreen inside. There is the performance package of this car that whole glass roof is actually carbon fiber, as well as a speed-activated spoiler that's in the trunk. Mine does not have that. And, you know, some people have said this car resembles kind of a spaceship. I get it. You know, it's funky, and especially when it came out in 2018, people thought it was a little weird, and you either loved it or you didn't. Of course, in the beginning, Lexus got a lot of grief for these huge grills. Now, I'm not going to say anything, but some of the other manufacturers out there, particularly a German brand, has these horrible, horrendous grills these days, and I think this is actually very elegant and very nice, and I've never had an issue with it. So this car is a lot of fun as far as the engine noise department as well. Now, it's not overly rambunctious, it's not obnoxious, it's not going to piss off your neighbors. It's just got a nice tone, and when you kick it over in Sport Plus mode, it even wakes up a little more. Now, the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet about this car is the stereo system. This is the Mark Levinson system. I believe it's 13 speakers in this car. There's a subwoofer in the back, right in the center console. And I tell you, it is nice, it is crisp, it basses hard. I mean, it's what you would expect in a wonderful GT car. No complaints there whatsoever. You got your speedometer there. And yeah, you can move that over and kick over your display and your other little units on the left side, or move it back. To put it in sport mode, you click this little toggle over here once. That gives you sport mode, and then Sport Plus mode. As you can see, it changes the tachometer. Traction control is over here. To turn it off, you hold that button down. You got your heating and air conditioning here. And as I mentioned, to operate the seats, the seat cooling, it's just a little cumbersome where you got to go in here to the seating mode and click that, and then you got to go over to your seat and click it down or make it go up. The mouse pad, some people really hate that. I actually have gotten really used to it, and I think it's actually really nice. It's intuitive. You have a little cup holder here, also another cup holder here. Nice deep pockets, some really cool styling cues. Found this really cool aftermarket cell phone holder that's perfect. You can't see it right now, but at night this is a backlit like blue display, and like I said, there's some other backlighting in the handles and the doors. Of course, this nice Alcantara, throughout the roof, the sunshade. Just when you're feeling frisky, you can just slap this down. There's your regular drive mode, or else you go down and you'd be in manual mode. And then you can play with your little flippers here on the steering wheel, and the car kind of comes to life. It's a lot of fun. So there it is. There's a little bit of my 2-year ownership experience with my Lexus LC500. It's been a wonderful car, as you can gather. When I look at cars, I tend to make a little pie chart. I divide things up into several categories. What makes a good car? You have reliability, you have resale, you have, of course, aesthetics. I mean, a car's got to look good. You got to have comfort and performance. There are certainly cars that excel in aesthetics and performance, mainly, some Italians. Historically speaking, reliability hasn't been the same. Wow factor, I mean, I grew up loving Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all those. I plan to own a Ferrari one day. Will it be as reliable as a Lexus? I certainly hope so. We'll see. But the rest of the categories, this car just encompasses so many of those, and it does it really quite well. Okay, 0 to 60 performance, 4.4 seconds. That's, by today's standards, not horribly fast, but it's not horribly slow. Even though the car weighs over, I think, 4,300 pounds, it doesn't feel that way. I think it's a wonderful car, and more so for the price point. I think it's a really good value. You don't see too many of them around. Thanks for watching this episode. Hopefully it gave you a little inside scoop on the LC500. And remember, hit that like button, subscribe, do all that fancy stuff, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.